Indignity is our destination. This is a quote by 30-year-old Seema, an Afghan woman who was interviewed by a United Nations journalist. Seema used to be a healthcare worker until the Taliban control in 2021, where she was stripped of her title and now has to decide if she wants to sell one of her children in order to feed her family. My qualifications to talk about this topic are that I've taken multiple political science classes throughout high school, as well as I've researched this topic before. And while I was doing my research, I decided that I wanted my topic and my main thesis to be from empowerment to erasure, about Afghan women from the past 4 years. And to start, I am going to quickly do a summary over what has happened since 2021. So 4 years ago, the United States and NATO agreed with the Taliban to remove their troops if the Taliban cut all connections with Al-Qaeda, which is another terrorist group. And they agreed, and so the US and NATO withdrew their troops, and it took them a little over a month for the Taliban to regain complete control over Afghanistan. And since then, Senior Research Officer Lindsay Maisland with the Council of Foreign Affairs conducted a research project on the state of the economy since 2021. She discovered that 30% of the economy has dropped, as well as the unemployment rate doubling, as well as children in sweatshops has increased, and as well as young girls being sold into marriages as a big source of income for people's families. She also discovered that the average life expectancy has dropped to 54 years old, and with 75% of Afghan people being without good food, clean water, and decent sheltering. And not only has this affected men and children, but specifically women. Afghan women have struggled the most out of all of them, and a research project led by surveyors and women health advocates of the Women's Refuge Commission discovered that it is impossible for women to go outside without having some form of male companion or male guardian with them. And this includes going to doctors and physicians' offices where a man must be in the room with them at all times, and they must discuss their treatment with the man, and the man must decide what he wishes to do. In which this all leads into the overall treatment of women in general in Afghanistan. With the new laws the Taliban has created, they have barred women and young girls from any kind of secondary education, as well as any kind of learning about sexual health care, anything like that is completely banned. And which then this leads to underage marriages, unsafe young pregnancies, and most importantly, extremely large cases of sexual and physical assault, which the Women's Refuge Commission also did another study with the same people, and they discovered that 9 in 10 Afghan women between the ages of newborn children to elderly adults have been in some case of physical or sexual assault in their lives. And then I also lastly wanted to kind of tie in how women and in the US compared to women in Afghanistan are being treated. And although women in Afghanistan are held to an extreme standard and they have had most of their rights stripped away, I think one thing that Afghan and United States women can agree on is that men are often looked down on them as incapable of doing certain tasks or having certain jobs and things like that. Even though it's very hard for us to relate to them in that sense, I think that there is very small things that we can relate to. But one thing that the US does have differently than Afghanistan is women are able to choose who they want to marry. They can choose what they want to dress like. They can go out of their house without having a male guardian next to them. They can choose what they want to do with their bodies for the most part. And I think that it's our duty as women who have free speech in America that we must use our voices to stand up for those who can't. As women who live in Afghanistan are punished on the daily and executed or made to disappear without ever being seen again if they end up standing up for themselves. And so I think by bringing awareness to this subject and showing people how scary it is across the world, and just telling more and more people about this, I think that it can really help in the long term. I know there's not a lot that we can do now, but the more people that are aware of this, the more people will want to help and change. And that is my topic on